Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Calling the meeting to order, the El Monte City School District Board of Education meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. Beginning with roll call, Mrs. Kobian,
Present.
Mrs. Rivas,
Present.
Mr. Sigrist,
Present.
Rodas present, and today absent we have Mrs. Mendez. Before I move on, I would like to ask for all of you to please stand and join us in 1 minute of silence to honor our El Monte heroes in honor of respect for Corporal Michael Paredes and Officer Joseph Santana. Thank you. And now we will move on to our flag salute. And for this, we have Leroy Huang from Wright School. Please.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you, Leroy. To continue today's welcome, it's going to be and sound very different, as we always do. As we all know, a tragedy shook the city of El Monte, our entire community. Words cannot express how saddened we are of the loss of two of our former students, Corporal Michael Paredes and Officer Joseph Santana. This very tragic event has touched our entire community. And while we recognize that words will never fully express our true feelings, we know that our two heroes will be remembered with fondness and pride into the future. Our prayers and condolences are with their families, their co-workers, and friends. May God be with them through these turbulent times. Corporal Michael Paredes and Officer Joseph Santana, thank you for dedicating yourselves to help and to protect the El Monte community. I will now open it up to my colleagues on the board for any words, beginning with Mrs. Kobian.
I'll just say thank you and leave it at that.
Mrs. Rivas.
Thank you, Ms. Ruedas, for your opening statement. Really beautiful words spoken. And yeah, clearly this has impacted every single one of us in many, many ways. Everybody is connected. Anybody that I've spoken to has had that connection to share, right? And there has just been a beautiful outpouring of support in the community, which is reflective Belmonte and the beautiful people that reside in it, and the way that the community has always come around to support each other. And the outpouring of love and support has, has been overwhelming and really varied as well. People finding numerous ways of demonstrating that. So I am, Father's Day was spent speaking about this, right? And probably that was the case for a lot of us at our family gatherings. So we're in grief, and at the same time, we can see the beauty of the people around us that are coming together to show love, and I'm thankful for that, and I am very proud of our community.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Mr. Sigrist.
Yeah, I think it's a reminder to all of us, these fallen officers, when you hear people attacking the police department across the United States, telling us that there's a problem with those people in blue and so on. This hit home also because my daughter went to school with Michael Paredes for 4 years at Arroyo, and obviously she's impacted by that. Our retired police chief, David Reynoso, went to school with the widow of Officer Saldana. And the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts from El Monte, Monrovia, and American Legionnaires from El Monte, we did a special celebration to commemorate them. The Marianne Powers and her husband purchased 2 flags, El Monte PD flags, and we did a retirement ceremony of those flags in honor of those 2 gentlemen that gave their lives protecting us, and that's what they do. And the circumstances around what happened is horrible. Like any other thing like that, it's something that we should always remember, that those people are out there and they don't know what they're facing whenever they stop a car or they enter a building, whatever. And I admire anybody who risks their lives like they do, and it happens all the time. May I share a few more things about what happened? Okay. Father's Day was great for a lot of fathers. And the problem for those little kids, for Michael Paredes, the officer, his 2 children, I mean, think about how horrible that was for them. I have to say this, that during I now have to remember, I'm a linguist, I'm a lexicographer, my specialty is language. When I went to all 6 of our graduations from our 8th grade, and I had people coming up and protesting. They kept saying, "You're calling this a promotion? A promotion is when you're in the same school and you go from one grade to the next to the next. Graduation is when you go from one school to another." Dictionary says the same thing, and I think we really need to look at that because that's misleading out there to tell people that. Something else, when I noticed that in our offices, school offices, we still have a picture of the Board of Education. I had people coming up and asking me, who
Mr.
are
Segrist, can
on
I
the Board
ask
of
a
Education?
Focus, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. We have people who died.
I'm sorry?
Okay, Mr. Sigrist, if we can maybe
Okay.
perhaps bring back those comments during board comments, if
Okay.
we can, please. Okay, should we give perhaps a few minutes for
We can continue
Mrs.
with the
Kobian to
agenda.
come back?
Yeah, I want to take this opportunity to add to the comments that were shared by board members. In particular, I know it's not a surprise that the fallen officers have deep ties in our community. It's something that's been celebrated about El Monte for many, many years. And so with that comes, I wanted to share that Corporal Michael Paredes was a student at Rio Vista. He was a student at Gidley, and he was a graduate of Arroyo High School. And he was also an SRO for our district a few years ago. We form a very special bond with our school resource officers as they come in and really try to help us support students in need, and Michael Paredes was no exception. I have vivid memories of him coming into my office as a school principal. We would close the door, we would brainstorm on how we were going to support the kids, and there he was as a partner. Just a wonderful person. And as you know, his family also, many of his family members work with the city, the school district. Joseph Santana was a student at Wilkerson. He was a student at Columbia. I happened to have him in my class as a 7th grade student. And then he was a graduate of Almani High School. Another wonderful and beautiful family, with lots of roots here in this community. And so we have been thinking about them. We are working with the community and with the Almani Police Department to support the families. We've started a campaign, the schools, all 3 school districts, showing our strength. We're calling it Almani Strong, because we know that the strength of this community is what's going to get us through this. But we also know that these officers will never be forgotten, and they will be part of the legacy that we create moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Okay, moving on, we would like to move on to our items of interest for this evening's agenda, beginning with item number 1. And if we can have Leroy Huang again from Riot School join us, please.
President Redas, before we introduce our wonderful student, I'd like to bring up Dr. Munoz, who is the principal at Frank Wright School, who's going to share a little bit about him, because we know that he's very humble, but he's just been an outstanding student, and we wish him all the best as he moves on to the high school. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Munoz.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, President Huertas, Dr. Garcia, and members of the board. Once again, I am Dr. Munoz, principal at Frank Wright School, and it's such an honor to be here this evening to introduce Leroy Huang to you, who holds many honors and distinctions at our school, but I'm going to share a couple of them with you so you have a sense of his very strong character and his achievements. So Leroy is a kinder through 8th grade student at Frank Wright School. So he will soon, well, already is an alumni of our school. He also was an American Legion runner-up and holds the distinction of kinder through 8th grade perfect attendance.
Wow.
So if you look at that in numbers of days, it's 1,620 days of in-school daily attendance, which is a huge accomplishment. Leroy wishes to major in engineering or computer science, so he's looking at college and university attainment. And he is accompanied this evening with his father, Mr. Larry Huang. If you could wave to the audience. And his younger sister, Valerie Huang, who will be entering 5th grade at Frank Wright School. I am confident that this evening you will come away with conviction that there is so much right with our youth and the future that they are molding for us once you hear Leroy's words this evening. So it's my pleasure, everyone, to introduce Leroy Huang. Come on up, Leroy.
Good afternoon, families, friends, teachers, and our fellow board members. My name is Leroy Huang, and I am one of our former 8th grade graduates. I welcome you to our meeting. We all strive to be successful, whether in exploring the world for inspiration or pondering new opportunities before making a firm choice. Life is but a book, because there's a beginning and an end, with chapters that catapult you from one wild plot to another. However, no matter how big or small each chapter is, many end with an exclamation point. The same can be said for today. Today marks the exclamation point for one of our chapters, but we first must understand how we reach this page. Without the people who helped us along the way, we would never have made it this far. First, to my friends and fellow peers, it is nearly impossible to express my gratitude. For those who helped me cram for tests and turn my laborious trek upside down, it's only in retrospect that I noticed the everyday hardships you guys endured to follow my crazy ideas. These memories I possess were only possible with the humorous comments that I face daily. Only with my friends do I know that failure is inevitable, as living so cautiously, where you never face failure, is the same as uninstalling life. As one of my friends told me when I declined the opportunity to learn advanced levels of math, you miss every shot that you do not take. The face of failure is just another hindrance to our story. If we weigh it with the smiles and laughter we receive along the way, what is there left to fear but another inky page? To our principals and school staff, thank you for believing in our best selves, even if we couldn't do it ourselves. The love and passion that you demonstrate daily in the craft is significantly contagious. I just can't help but desire the chance to influence someone as heavenly as you have done. I can also never forget the work our supervisors and janitors have to do to keep our school hygiene to high standards. Especially with COVID-19 around, with more challenges arise, is it truly heartwarming to know that our janitors tirelessly clean up our school for our well-being. To Mr. Gutierrez, who has raised my love of math to new standards, and Mr. Morando, who have taught me how to break complex science problems into basic chunks. Now I can understand that matter and energy will always be conserved. My success now will be my success later. To Ms. Hall and Ms. Rivas, who have inspired me to always adapt to new situations. Just in a few months, will we journey across one of the steepest hills known as high school. Only by becoming an achiever in your classes have I learned to fit into this unique place and find those rest points up the hill. To Mr. Miranda, who has supported me through my running chapter as I learn about topics such as biomechanics, which is the proper running technique. To Mr. Cuevas, who teaches AVID and taught me the importance of AVID and how it will lead me to higher education. Last, but surely not least, to our parents and families, who are the backbone of our accomplishments. I can't thank you enough. The tedious routine of bringing us to school prepared and making sure we get the correct support is something so priceless. Many of us don't understand the effort that is taken for our success. On the other hand, as we give credit where credit is due, we must not rate ourselves to nothing. The robust relationships and connections we have in our lives is one of the most important things. Yet, we should also praise ourselves for making it this far. As Gary Paulson wrote in the book Hatchet, you're your most valuable asset. Don't forget that. You're the best thing you have. Everyone who stands here today did not only stand here because of another's effort, but also because of their own effort. We must all understand that every single one of us can make a difference. If anyone has ever made a shred of doubt on the path to success, look in the mirror and admire the person who stands in front of it. As we all gather here today, we close this chapter and look forward to continuing chapters of high school and everything further on. Every day, you're writing a story that will dictate your character. Even with ardent challenges throughout the year, you hold the choice to become the hero you have been looking for. Any sort of hesitation in finishing our book should be met with the words, I am myself, and that's good enough. Thank you.
I'm going to open it up for a few words from the board.
I will just say thank you. It's so heartening to hear just your optimism and the strength that you have. So I think you are, a great representative of your family, of your school, and of this community. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Mrs. Rivas?
Thank you and congratulations on your many successes. And maybe I'll be seeing you around Arroyo. My kids go there and look forward to seeing your successes there as well. You're heading to a great place.
Thank you. Mr. Seegers.
I am totally impressed, and I hope that when you're in ninth grade, you will enter the oratorical contest. It's open to high schoolers throughout this district, El Monte Union High School District. To date, we've never had anybody enter, but please consider that. When you get to your high school, ask about the American Legion Oratorical Contest. It's every year. You can go to the local level, the district level, the state level, and I think you could even go to the national level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. I attended Frank Wright graduation or promotion ceremony, and when I was listening to your speech, to what you were saying, believe me, I was inspired because it really it applies to anyone. Anyone. You were right. You wrote about your story of success. That just reminds us how important it is to reflect on our own story and to want to get to that big thing, which is success. So I really congratulate you. I admire you. You're a poet. So please, you have to believe it when I say it. Inspirational. Thank you, and thank you to your family for supporting you, because your success is also your family's success. So thank you so much. Again, another round of applause for Leroy. Thank you. And moving on to our items of interest. This evening, we have our recognition of our DLAC officers. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, President Redas. I want to acknowledge that we have our wonderful DLAC officers with us today, and just in connecting with them right before the meeting got started, I realized that for the last 2 years, I was seeing them in a little screen, with a little window. We all looked like the Brady Bunch there, and it's just so good to see them in person and to see their leadership continue to thrive. It did during the pandemic. It continues to do so, and we are in great hands. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Roberto Lopez Mena, who oversees our DLAC, who is going to introduce our 3 wonderful parents, and we're going to present them with certificates.
Good evening. This is quite an honor to be able to acknowledge the hard work that is being done in the district of El Monte, or city of El Monte. And so no greater acknowledgement than our student from Wright, but also along with students, we also have to acknowledge our parents, because we know that they are instrumental in making sure that our students are successful. And so with that, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize 3 of our officers from DLAC. Our first officer is our secretary, Diana Ramos. Our next officer, also a former president of DLAC, Gloria Nunez, vice president. And our president for DLAC, Rosario Alcaraz. Es un honor, un placer poder reconocer el buen trabajo que se hace en el distrito del Monte, la ciudad del Monte. Así como nuestro estudiante de la escuela Wright, también tenemos que reconocer el esfuerzo y el trabajo de nuestros padres, porque sin su esfuerzo y sus logros no tuviéramos el éxito que tenemos hoy en día, especialmente con nuestros niños. Y por esa razón nos gustaría reconocer su esfuerzo como oficiales de DLAC y agradecerles todo el trabajo que hacen. Enhorabuena.
The board picture, Primero una con usted. Pero antes de que se vaya, ¿podemos unas palabritas por parte de ustedes, por favor? A few words from our DLAG officers.
Buenas tardes. No tenemos preparado un speech, ¿verdad? Good afternoon. Mi nombre es Gloria Núñez, soy vicepresidenta de DILAC. Estuve 2 años anteriormente como presidenta y a través de los años como parte de la comunidad también, como parte importante en la educación de los hijos, me he dado cuenta de eso, del involucramiento de los padres, cómo es importante para cada uno de los niños. Me doy cuenta también al conocer que cada familia tiene una historia y cada niño una necesidad diferente. Entonces, como mamá, me da esa motivación para seguir involucrándome más, aprendiendo más y tener esa oportunidad de poder compartir en el comité de DILAC y en otros comités de las escuelas. Nos damos cuenta de eso, de las necesidades y del gran apoyo que son ustedes también como administración y nosotros como papás, la importancia de estar involucrados en su educación y ver qué podemos apoyar. Nosotros somos el apoyo, somos también una voz para ellos, importante, y a veces no conocemos muchas cosas que tenemos en la escuela, muchos apoyos que podemos obtener y mediante los comités que tenemos nos damos cuenta de eso. Les agradezco siempre el apoyo y creo que una de las cosas también que he aprendido que somos un equipo importante para poder tener que un niño tenga éxito académico y también emocional, porque es lo que lo lleva a una estabilidad, que son nuestro futuro los niños, y tenemos que estar bien y trabajar junto con ellos para que puedan lograr un éxito, pero que también al mismo tiempo estén felices. Muchas gracias.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Rosario Alcaraz, soy presidenta de DILAC, es mi primer año. Yo también estoy muy emocionada. Cuando me empecé a involucrar en los comités de DILAC y de ILAC, me empezó a gustar porque los papás siempre me preguntaban, yo no estaba en ningún comité, pero me preguntaban, ¿y tú crees, cómo le voy a hacer con esto? ¿Cómo le puedo hacer? ¿Dónde puedo buscar ayuda? Entonces me empecé a involucrar y me empezó a gustar porque pues quiero que mis niños lleguen a la meta como todos los niños de otras personas. Y siempre busco ayudas para ver qué traer a los papás y sobre todo a los niños aprendices de inglés, que es nuestro compromiso. Entonces, aquí estoy y espero dar más por esos niños que son míos y otros que no son míos. Y gracias al distrito, al señor Roberto, porque, híjole, o sea, siempre nos ha encontrado nos ha ayudado bastante. El director también de la escuela también, y hemos hecho un equipo muy bueno. Y como dijo César Chávez, todos podemos, juntos podemos seguir adelante. Gracias.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Diana Ramos. Gracias por el reconocimiento y es un honor para nosotros representar la voz de nuestros hijos, de nuestros niños, de nuestras escuelas. Y es muy satisfactorio ser la voz de nuestros hijos. Es también un ejemplo, un gran ejemplo que les damos, que siempre hay que estar involucrados, siempre hay que buscar la información. Siempre les digo a mis niños, no sé todo, estoy aprendiendo también, pero pregúntenme y si no tengo la respuesta, vamos por ella, la investigamos y así. Por eso estamos aquí, aprendiendo. Y muchas gracias a todos por el apoyo. Gracias.
I will not begin to do them justice in translating, but let me just tell you that these dynamic, extraordinary parents represent the wonderful parents that we have in this district that have the best interest of not only their children, but of every child that sits in one of our desks. And they are here to learn, they are here to support other parents, and at the end of the day, they want what's best for all of our kids. So we are so fortunate to have such wonderful representation of our wonderful parents in El Monte. Mil gracias.
We are. Any
Una última
words?
cosa.
Dígame.
Nosotros nos importan nuestros hijos porque son nuestra motivación, ¿verdad? Y una de las motivaciones también que son ellos es que nosotros estamos tomando clases de inglés para poder también superarnos y darle un ejemplo a ellos que nada nos puede detener y como nosotros, aunque tenemos esa, por decir, barrera, la vamos a romper. Y maybe next meeting we can speak English.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Felicidades. Any words from the board? Beginning with Mrs. Kovian.
I'll just say thank you so much for your time, sharing your voice. This is such a valuable service that you provide to your children, to the district. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Rivas.
Thank you for your leadership and for sharing your words with us this evening. It's so clear that that you're providing such a you're serving all of the students so well, your own, but all of our students. So thank you.
Mr. Segrist.
Muchísimas gracias por todo lo que hacen ustedes, no solamente en su casa, pero cuando hacen su oficio en DILAC, está ayudando tanto a todos los niños. Muchísimas gracias siempre por todo lo que hacen ustedes.
Y algo más, bueno, estoy de acuerdo con mis compañeros de la mesa directiva. Definitivamente he tenido el honor de estar presente en sus juntas y créanme que cada que voy, la cultura que está presente ahí definitivamente es de verdadera inspiración. Las felicito, gracias por ser ese modelo a seguir en sus hogares. Y lo que acaban de comentar, definitivamente 100% de acuerdo. Ustedes son el modelo a seguir en casa y gracias por permitirnos a nosotros en el Distrito aquí Escolar del Monte también, por brindarnos esa confianza para hacer este equipo junto con ustedes. Así es que felicidades, muy bien merecido. And I won't translate in English because at this point I don't think I remember what I just said, but congratulations to our DLAC officers. Perfect, and we will now move on to our item number 3 of items of interest, the Universal Pre-Kindergarten Plan with Dr. Teresa Pinedo.
President Ruedas.
Sorry, President Readiness, before we turn it over, I do want to acknowledge that we have one of our wonderful teachers in the audience that was mentioned by Leroy. So I just want to acknowledge Yahaira Rivas, who is one of Leroy's teachers and definitely instrumental in all of his successes. Thank you. Okay, so now I'll turn it over to Mrs. Castro, who will introduce Dr. Pinedo.
Thank you, President Rodas, members of the Governing Board. It's my pleasure tonight to welcome Dr. Teresa Pinedo, who is our Director of Instruction and Assessment. And what we have before you today is a draft of our Universal Pre-K Plan. We've shared in the past meetings that we are expanding our transitional kinder legislature. The governor has announced that we are going to open up more ages, more age groups, and offer more services for our pre-K students. So today, Dr. Pinedo will be sharing a plan with you. A draft of the plan is also attached to the agenda for your consideration.
Good evening, President Ruedas, Governing Board, Amani City School District community. It is my pleasure to present to you, as Ms. Castro said, a draft of our Universal Pre-Kindergarten Plan. The UPK plan was developed in response to AB 130, which aims to serve more 3- and 4-year-olds with high-quality preschool education, and it universalizes access to TK for all 4-year-olds. So this is very exciting. California plans to meet this goal by providing transitional kinder to all 4-year-olds by the year 2025-2026. Universal Pre-K or Universal Pre-Kindergarten is an umbrella term that provides preschool services to 3- and 4-year-olds, including through our California State Preschool Program, our Head Start programs, community-based preschool programs, early learning services for students with disabilities, private preschool, transitional kinder, and expanding learning options to support access to a full day of services for our 4-year-old students. Currently, we do provide preschool programming through our Head Start and our California State preschool program, and we are currently offering a transitional kinder at 7 of our school sites. The expansion of our universal pre-K is important for our community because we know it lays an early and strong foundation for our younger students prior to kindergarten, and it gives them an advantage in school and in life. Children who attend preschool programs build their foundational skills in literacy, in language, in numeracy, and it helps our little ones utilize their problem-solving skills and practice their self-control. Additionally, our students will strengthen their socialization skills and their social-emotional development. In some cases, students who attend preschool are less likely to be identified for special education services or to be held back or retained in elementary school. So we are in a good place in the Almani City School District as we currently offer transitional kinder program. Currently, we have 7 TK classes located throughout the district that are in close proximity to many of where our families live, so they don't have to drive or walk too far to get their children to our schools. One TK class currently is a 90-10 dual language Spanish class, and it's always very full. Beginning next year, we will add a TK class that's a 50-50 dual language Mandarin class, taking our total TK classes up to 8. And as we now stand, we currently enroll students who turn 5 between September 2nd to March 2nd. Additionally, with our programming, we currently have the staffing that we need to meet our projected needs for the 2022-23 school year. Here is the timeline for our universal TK rollout. It is a phased approach until we offer transitional kinder to all 4-year-olds. As you can see, in 2022-23, we are required to offer TK to 4-year-olds who are born between September 2nd and December 2nd. Almani City School District currently already offers TK from September 2nd to March 2nd, so we are in a good place right now to meet the needs of our projected enrollment. As you can see, there are also ratios that I will be talking about briefly and class size maximums. So our UPK plan addresses the requirements as outlined by the California Department of Education, which includes a 9-hour program that will be provided by both district and our expanded learning partners. In 2022-23, our required staffing ratios are 1 adult to 12 children, and beginning in 2023-24, the ratios drop to 1 adult to 10 children. 1 adult must be a credentialed teacher, and the other adult may be an instructional assistant. And we are currently looking to hire instructional assistants for our TK program to meet this requirement. For our TK teachers currently meet our credentialing requirements, and so at this time, we have our staffing that we need. However, if our program needs more teachers, we will seek to hire more teachers as we expand our program. As I mentioned before, one of the requirements of our UPK plan is that we provide a 9-hour program for our students in TK. And this was something that was very important from the state of California, from Governor Newsom, is that we provide this access to our 4-year-olds so that families had a place for their children to receive an education and also to get that full day of programming. And so this is what a sample schedule could look like for next year, where we offer before school childcare. We offer instructional programming from 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock for a total of 5 hours. And then we offer our expanded learning opportunity time after school from 1 o'clock to 4:30. We sought feedback from our educational partners about what they would like to see in this 9-hour of programming. And this is the feedback they gave us. They want that before and after school childcare. They want to see an integration of arts and music. They want STEAM and exploration. They want to see chess for their students and field trips and cooking and physical activity. They want their kids to have fun. They want foreign language. They want physical activity and social development and dancing. So they had a lot of great ideas that they want to see integrated into our 9-hour of programming. And we will work with our educational partners to be able to provide this for our students. And that is our plan. So as I said, it's short, but it's because we are in a good place. We laid a strong foundation. Many districts are currently scrambling to meet this need in their district, where they might only have 1 or no TK classes, and we have 7 going on 8. So we're excited about this opportunity to grow, to meet the needs of our community. Any questions or feedback?
Thank you, Dr. Pinedo. Opening it up for questions from the board. Mrs. Cobian.
Yeah, I just had a question. In terms of curriculum, does the district have a curriculum? Does the state have a curriculum? What's kind of guiding what's going to happen for the students there?
So we currently have a curriculum for our TK program called Ready to Advance Ready to Advance by Benchmark Education. And it includes an enhancement, they call it, that will meet the needs of our students for now, because we have to look at what's developmentally appropriate, and we want to make sure that we're including those preschool learning foundations. Ready to Advance does do that, but we know as the students get younger, we will need to find the most appropriate curriculum. But at this time, we do have something in place.
That's great. I'm really excited about the program. I think it's going to be such a great asset for the community. And I also just wanted to acknowledge, really love the focus on exploration and giving kids very real life off-screen experiences.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian.
Just thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Mrs.
Very,
Rivas.
very nicely laid out for us. Thank you.
Yo tengo una pregunta. ¿Van a ofrecer la oportunidad de los niños, de los padres de familia participar en la clase? Como hace muchos años tuvimos un programa en California, se llama Mamá y Yo. Los padres, mamás y padres participaron en la clase con los niños desde el principio. La ventaja de ese programa que tuvimos, el gobernador lo mató, lo terminó, es los padres entienden desde el principio cómo funciona el sistema educativo. Entonces, you speak Spanish, right?
I understand it, Mr. Seamus.
Okay.
Yes.
The point being, are parents going to be allowed to be in the classroom with those children in the universal pre-K? Because the advantage to that is the parents learn how the system functions from the beginning. Years ago, we had a Mommy and Me program since 1936. The governor killed it. Only God knows why. But it was very successful because the parents, so many immigrants, understood that, yes, you have to help those kids learn along the way. You can't just say, well, go to your bedroom and learn. They learn from the beginning what the system requires. So can you allow them to come in if they're willing to? It's not obligatory, but can they do it?
Mr. Seagrass, if you can, I'd like to answer that question because I have some context. So not only God knows why, I actually know why. The Mommy and Me program, which is a wonderful program. I remember when I was an administrator at Rio Hondo, we hosted one of those programs. It was an adult ed program. So parents would enroll in the adult education program through the high school district.
Exactly, at the same time.
And we offered spaces. And so spaces throughout the community were offered to provide these courses. So that there is a different direction. So it's not a Mommy and Me program. What's really exciting, and I'd like for the board to really understand, we're adding a grade level to our lifespan. This is historical. It's just a terrific opportunity in this moment in time. And when you think about the needs of young students, this is it. And the El Monte City School District is already meeting this need, and we're going to be expanding on this. So as far as having parents present, we've always had a wonderful partnership with our parents. I mean, I think these 3 moms are a testament of how we work together with parents in the school. They're not necessarily in the classroom because we need kids to be independent, we need them to be self-reliant, and we need them to really, hone in on some skills that are going to set them up for success. But we have outstanding programs that bring parents in every step of the way. And I am confident that together with Dr. Pinedo and Mr. Roberto Lopez Mena, we're going to continue to build on the successes that we have, where we have quality programs and we have investments in parents. And I will say, on a personal note, when I was visiting classrooms virtually, and I had my 4-year-old that did not qualify because of her age, I was listening to TKers talk about scientific, hypothesis in the TK classes. And then, that same evening, I happened to go home and I was like, do you know what a, hipótesis científico is to my daughter, right? Because I was on a mission to teach everything that I had heard in that TK visit that day. So I can assure you that we are, to just really highlight what Dr. Pinedo pointed out, El Monte City is far, far advanced. And our relationship with our parents, even though we no longer have these Mommy and Me programs through the adult school, we have met those needs in many other ways, and we'll continue to grow that capacity.
Well, I am very impressed with this program. I think it's wonderful. The earlier, the better. And what jumped out at me, one point of it especially, was chess. If you start children with chess very early, it develops mathematical skills, reasoning, because when you play chess, you have to figure out what's that other person going to be doing and how do you stop them. So it's a wonderful program. I think it's going to be a great addition to what we do in the district. Thank you.
I'll just jump in too, since we're,
Go ahead.
just adding comments upon comments. But just my personal response when I was reading our agenda for tonight and was able to look over our document related to this topic. And, I just had to think about my own experience with my own children, right? This just opens up the opportunity to access preschool to so many students. And preschool, if it's private preschool, is very expensive, and childcare is very expensive. And so I was thinking about those experiences when my kids were that age. And then when I saw, our dual language extending to TK, my heart actually kind of sunk, because I was like, I wish I had had that for my kids. But at the same time, just so excited, right?
Yes.
To be able to have that for so many, really generations now. I mean, this is going to be impacting generations of kids coming up in the future. So how exciting to be at the beginning of that and to be able to have your hands on that.
Thank you. It is exciting to be able to provide this for our community and for our parents not to have to struggle to find a place for their child to receive quality pre-K education, because we will be providing that for them for free. A 9-hour program, no childcare, that they have to look at. It will be built into their program. So it is very exciting. And it was exciting for us as we were developing it, right, Mr. Lopez Mena? Yes.
Dr. Pinedo, can I put you on the spot? Can you just share briefly about our Kinder Readiness Academy in the summertime? Because I think it aligns very well to this program and what we're offering for parents in the community.
Absolutely. And so to speak to what Mr. Segrist was also saying about involving our parents and engaging them, we do have a Kinder Readiness Academy taking place during the summertime, and a TK Kinder Readiness, that provides parents with, access to how to support their children with literacy, with numeracy, with social emotional development. We have a wonderful program called Footsteps to Brilliance, where students are practicing their foundational skills prior to entering our schools and during the summertime. So some fun time. They have fun learning during the summer doing this. We have some classes for parents that they attend, or some meetings that they attend to receive some education on this as well. And so that's very exciting. And then we're looking to actually have students come in early and be assessed prior to the start of school, so that teachers can really hit the ground running with data regarding the students that are walking into their classrooms. And most importantly, teachers are meeting their students, and students are meeting their future teachers and getting excited about the learning that will take place.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Pinedo, for this outstanding presentation. And I do want to just make 2 comments. I want to acknowledge all of your work, your great work, and Mr. Roberto Lopez Mena. And I say you too, not just because you're here, but I can attest that by attending the DLAC meetings, I've seen you sharing this information and making sure that parents are understanding in their language, sharing all these PowerPoint presentations, and also allowing that feedback, right? That is very important for all of us as we move forward. And so everything that you just shared right now, I was listening to it, and it was great to hear all those great suggestions and ideas from parents. So that is just very great and speaks very loudly of the wonderful work that happens here. So thank you again.
May I ask one more question?
Sure.
How are you going to get the word out in the community? Because this is a novel program, and it's really hard to get people to know about those things. Because I know I've learned this already, that you have to tell people, but you have to tell them again and again. And if you get the word out the right way, it can be spread around the community, maybe through the churches, through, even appearing at the city council meeting and saying, hey, this is going to be wonderful for our kids because they're going to get a head start, way ahead of Head Start. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we will continue to market it and publicize it through Mr. Dasmati, who's here, and make sure to get the word out to our community as well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Pinedo, once again.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And now I will turn it over to Mrs. Castro for our item number 4 this evening, local indicators.
Thank you, President Ruedas, members of the governing board. I'm actually going to defer to Mr. Lopez Mena, who's been a star this evening. Continue with that starship, Mr. Lopez Mena, and I'm going to ask him to present on the local indicators.
Uh-oh. Hello again, President Ruedas, board members, cabinet, and audience. Thank you for the opportunity. One of the requirements with respect to receiving local control funding formula is making sure that we have accountability. And so one of those pieces with you this evening, you have the opportunity to consider our LCAP for approval this evening. And in addition to that, we are required to deliver a presentation on our local indicators for the City of El Monte School District. So the update here requires that we touch on 3 pieces. Number 1, increase funding to target needs for unduplicated pupils through supplemental and concentration funds. That basically is the LCAP. And we have to develop an LCAP that needs to be approved annually by the governing board. And finally, we have 10 state measures that we need to report on, and we'll be going through that here momentarily. So this is a snapshot of the California dashboard. You see there towards the center right, indicates 2019. And it's 2019 because that's the last time we had all of these measures in place. Due to COVID, our dashboard has been suspended officially, but excuse me, but we still are reporting on our local indicators. So here you'll see there are 5 measures that are part of the dashboard. In addition to that, we have our 5 local indicators. And here you have the 5 state indicators and the 5 local indicators. So for state indicators, we have chronic absenteeism, suspension rate, English learner progress, academic performance for both language arts and mathematics, and English learner progress I mentioned earlier. 5 local indicators are basic conditions, which relate to teacher qualifications, safe and clean buildings, curriculum-aligned instructional materials, and then we have implementation of academic standards, parent engagement, school climate, which we've reported on before, and that's our Cal School surveys, both for parents, staff, and students. And then we have access to broad course study. These 10 items make up our California dashboard. In addition to that, we have to ensure that our local priorities are also aligned with the 8, or as many as possible of the 8 state priorities. So what you're going to see here is the alignment, one-to-one alignment between the state priority 1 through state priority 7, and how they correlate or align with our local indicators. So priority 1 is our basic services. Priority 2, implementation of state academic standards. Priority 3, parent engagement. Priority 6, school climate. And priority 7, access to a broad course of study. So here we have those 5 indicators, how they align with our state priorities and what they mean, but also where we land. And what you're going to see here is, in parentheses, after each indicator, is whether we've met, not met, these requirements. And so for priority 1, indicator 1, we have basic conditions. And this speaks to the whether we have misassignments of teachers for English learners, vacant teacher positions, students without access to their own copies of standard aligned instructional materials, which we do through the Williams visits. We also have school facility good repair status report, which is also done through the Williams visit, and total teacher misassignments overall, which is also part of the Williams. And what you're seeing here is that we are actually compliant in all of these measures. Priority 2, also indicator 2, is implementation of academic standards. And we measure that through our engagement with our staff, through professional learning opportunities. Teachers receive a minimum of 18 hours annually, and that's a minimum of professional development in the areas of English language arts, math, science, social science, and English language development. In addition to that, we also ensure that our site administrators and district administrators are part of ongoing professional development, and we've met this requirement. Local indicator 3, which is also aligned to priority 3, parent and family engagement. You're going to see that we've met this requirement, and we've done that through an analysis of multiple points. Number 1 is our Cal Schools surveys. You'll see here that we have met, and we have 3 points here. School encourages me to be an active partner with school in educating my child. This is from the parent survey. 92% of parents feel this way. School actively seeks the input of parents before making important decisions. 85% of our parents feel this way. Parents feel welcome to participate at this school, 91% of our parents. And we had over 4,200 parents that participated in the survey. Parents have played a key role in development, implementation, and evaluation of the local control plan as well. One of the things that was mentioned earlier this evening was the involvement of not only DLAC, but ELAC, and also our key communicators. Not only do they participate in the presentations and receive information, but they're instrumental in providing feedback and comments, to the point where they received actually a written response from Dr. Garcia with respect to their comments and their questions. And the written response has been posted on our website. We also have, very instrumental is the engagement of our district community liaisons in providing PD and development, not only at the school site with respect to school site council, but also PD for parents at the Jeff Seymour Family Center. Indicator 4, which is aligned to priority 6, and this is school climate. Once again, our Healthy Kids survey in this case, our parent survey, and our staff survey has the following identification. And this was administered December of 2021, where staff, students, and parents, how do they feel about safe school? So 95% of our parents feel that they have a safe campus. Likewise with our staff, 75% of our students, based on the survey, feel safe at school, and 61% of our 7th graders feel safe at school. Now, the overall aggregate, or the Likert scale, if you will, places this at a 3+, and that's why we've met this target as well. Connected to school, this is super important when looking at improving our school climate, but also academic progress. And 91% of parents feel that they're connected to school. 90% of staff feel connected to school. 72% of our 5th graders feel connected to school, and 63% of our 7th graders feel connected at school. This means that we're doing very well overall. This is at 82+%, which then allows us to meet this target as well. Now, it's clear that we have areas of growth just based on the numbers you see here. We have some work to do with our 7th graders. But overall, we've met this target. Our 5th indicator and final indicator is tied to priority 7, which is course access. This really speaks to El Monte City School District being able to provide a wide array of opportunities, really tied to master schedule, and ensuring that our students have access to math, English, social sciences, science, visual arts and performing arts, health, and physical education. Specifically, also that we are providing the dedicated ELD classes for our students that are English language learners. And for K through 8th grade students, not only do we have the courses previously mentioned, but we also ensure that for ELD, that they have a dedicated time of 45 minutes daily. And finally, students with exceptional needs. Our scheduling also ensures that not only are they in the least restrictive environment, but that we also follow their IEP goals and objectives. And this is what allows us to indicate that we've met our indicator as well. Wow, that's beautiful. As you can see, it's not just about the indicator in and of themselves, but it's how all of these pieces come together and create a support of the whole child. Questions?
Questions from the board? Well, thank you, Mr. Segrist.
Thank you for providing the acronyms and how they break out, because a lot of times people give people things and they give them the acronyms and they have no idea what they are. Great job in that. I have a question concerning the 7th graders and 8th graders. School safety, school connectedness, it was like 70% and 60. Did you ask them for any suggestions they had for how to make that difference and make it improved, and so they would get a higher, if there was something you asked them to do, or did you ask questions, what would you do to make it better? I just have that question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's actually a very good question, Mr. Segrist. And this year, we had an opportunity to actually meet with students as part of our LCAP process. And they provided feedback not only with respect to school and climate, but also the items that they'd like to see with support for their parents, and also extracurricular activities before, after school, and summer school as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez Mena. So I'm hearing the same process as what's done with our parents. So wonderful, great to hear this, and also to see that all indicators have been met. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. And now we will move on to our communications section of tonight's agenda, beginning with public comments. Okay, no public comments at this time. Any written communications?
President Redas and governing board members, I do have 2 written communications that came through. One of them is a certificate from the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Mr. Tony Thurmond, who wanted to acknowledge all of their schools as well as the district in a certificate of recognition for the 2022 California Pivotal Practice as a Pivotal Practice District. So I do want to share this with the board. Every one of our school sites received their individual certificate as well as a flag that we are flying with lots of pride at each one of our schools. We also received a certificate appreciation from Assemblymember Mike Fong from the 49th District as well, acknowledging the district for the California Pivotal Practice Award by State Superintendent Tony Thurmond. So we will be displaying these certificates and awards proudly at the district office.
Wonderful, great to hear this. And congratulations again to the entire district. Very well deserved. Okay, and now moving on to board members and communications, beginning with Mrs. Kobian.
Thank you. I would just like to say thank you to all those who are making summer school happen. It's been a really great opportunity. Been hearing some really good feedback about the programming. It's so exciting to be able to offer kind of the full schedule that we're able to offer our kiddos, and definitely looking forward to the virtual options that are coming later. So just thank you to everyone who's been a part of that.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Mrs. Rivas.
Yeah, I was also going to mention summer school and how wonderful it is that it's offered at every single one of our sites and virtually later on in the summer as well. So, yeah, good job, team. It's a great service.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Mr. Segrist.
Oh, yes, I started too early, but I would like to entertain that we would investigate the LACO's program for spelling bees. They start in March for next year. My experience in this district was I was in charge of the annual spelling bee in English and in Spanish, and I never found a problem with that because teachers don't do anything with it. The parents do. The district provides the words, the sentences, and even the word origin, so children learn from that. So I would entertain that we would begin to bring back, now that COVID is kind of diminished, the spelling bee. It's a great opportunity for our kids. They learn a lot. Language development occurs, so we look into that. Also, I have a request from some of the parents. They would like to know if they can borrow the musical instruments for their children in the summer, because professional musicians that I know, they say the worst thing you can do is start an instrument and then lay off for a while because it's so hard to begin it again. So possibly we could do that only for those that are interested in doing it, because there will be this loss of expertise. I had the experience of going to Rio Hondo's Taste Rio Hondo up on the campus, and there were about 450 people there. I went as a guest of the high school district, and I met a gentleman there that I wish we could maybe bring here to talk to us sometime. His name is Yoshiro Nakamura. He was a veteran in World War II in the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, the Nisei that in Italy rescued the Lost Battalion. He happens to be a product of our community. He was taken off the campus in 1942 from El Monte High School, 1942, when he was having lunch with his friends. Up came the soldiers with rifles and the FBI. He was put in one of those camps, I think in Gila, Arizona. He ended up going into the service, got the Purple Heart, survived, and became a world-renowned artist, by the way, with paintings in the Smithsonian. He finally got his El Monte Union High School District diploma in 2012. That's kind of late. So I'd like to see if maybe we could get him to come and give a presentation at some time about his experience, because he's a product of our district and also the high school district. So summer school, I've had some questions about that. Are there any openings in summer school for kids now, or is it closed? Because I saw their enrollment was like 198. Can we entertain more children to come into summer school? And also, we need to promote some things in our community. They're opening the Mac Ortiz Plaza over here. I have some people I've met that want to move into El Monte, that want to become residents here and bring their children, but they need to find out about the housing that's available, because there's a lot of building going on, and if they don't know about it, they cannot come and take advantage of it. Also, I found out that our parks in El Monte are doing food distribution in the afternoons, 3 o'clock to about 5. They're giving boxes of food, and I know our families can use them, and one was even giving diapers. So maybe we can promote that through the El Monte City, maybe some of our Facebook announcements, that this is something that's available for the community, and there's something that's, we need to give more information out there. And also promoting more through the media, the things that we do. I think this brand new program of Universal Pre-K should really be promoted through the Mid-Valley News, the Tribune, and the rest. So market is the term that was used, and I love the word marketing because that's got to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. And for me, I attended the 8th grade promotions, not all, but I attended Potrero, Gidley, Frank Wright, and Columbia's 8th grade promotion ceremonies. It was wonderful to go back once again to the in-person, and I want to call it normal, to see all of the students and the families, outstanding, everyone, how, that just shows us unity. We are social. We are people that love to interact, and that social interaction, and the fact that we were together for such a very important occasion to celebrate the success of all of our children, that really says a lot. So thank you to the principals that helped each and every one of our students, our assistant principals, everyone, our teachers, everyone as a whole really deserves a special recognition because they truly deserve it. So thank you for all you do for our students. It was wonderful, wonderful to see this. Also, I attended, last week I attended the DLAC meeting again with our officer. It was wonderful to see them in action and to see all of the great feedback, the suggestions and ideas that were happening from every single school had a parent there that was in attendance. I also want to thank and I always highlight when I go to meetings and I see the principals that are involved. So I want to thank this time Principal Zamora Day for being there. And Mr. Carranza, it's wonderful to see them and share a little bit about those best practices that happen in their schools. So thank you very much for sharing also with our parents. So that is it for me. And we will now move on to our closed session. And this evening, we have a few. So closed sessions item pursuant to A, conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to anticipated litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 or 3 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9, 1 potential case. B, item pursuant to Government Code 54962, Student Discipline at Code 48915 or 48917, Student Expulsion Case Number SE 004 2021-2022. C, items pursuant to Government Code 54957, Public Employment Principle. And D, items pursuant to A, Government Code 54957, Public Employee Performance Evaluation Superintendent. We will be right back.
It's great to be alive. Count your blessings. That's a lot of reading, Randy. Next time recorded just
Okay, we will resume our open meeting at 7:17 p.m. Reporting now our closed session items pursuant to A, item pursuant to conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to anticipated litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 or 3 of subdivision D of Government Code, section 54956.91, potential case. Letter C, items pursuant to Government Code 54957, public employment principle, and D, items pursuant to Government Code 54957, public employee performance evaluation superintendent. All items, no action was taken, except for going back to letter B, item pursuant to Government Code 54962, student discipline at code 48915 or 48917, student expulsion, case number SE 004.2021-2022. The district has recommended a full expulsion agreement for student in case number SE 004.2021-22. Is there a motion to accept the full expulsion agreement for student in case number SE 004.2021-22?
I so move.
Thank you,
I will second.
Mrs. Mendez. Okay, second by Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. And we will move on with our approval of minutes. Item number 1, consideration of approval of minutes for the June 6, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Any discussion?
Yes, there is. Just to remember that that was Normandy on June the 6th. Just don't forget that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to our action consent agenda for today. Do we have any board members who wish to pull out any items?
Item number 3.
Item number 3. Any others? Okay, no others. Is there a motion then to approve the action consent agenda minus item number 3?
I'll
so
make the
move.
motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, going back to item number 3, Mr. Segrist.
Yes, item number 3, I think we need, once this COVID thing diminishes, we can again encourage our schools to have the children visit the El Monte Historical Society Museum and La Historia, because we're a community with 2 museums. And I think the kids could really benefit from knowing what happened in this community over the years. So I think it's something that we need to promote, and it's a wonderful organization. It's been around quite a while, and I think it's done a great deal to keep alive the history of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist, for that. Now, do we have a motion to approve item number 3?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to our next section of this evening's agenda, actions, beginning with item number 1, consideration of approval to adopt Resolution 21-2235, tobacco-free and vaping-free schools and communities.
President Readiness and governing board members, before you this evening is a second draft of the resolution that we discussed at the previous meeting. As you know, we started with the resolution back in 2019. We wanted to add some more information, particularly include the statistics and how sometimes tobacco and vaping can be gateways to other drugs, and this also tied into the social emotional needs of our students. And so as a district, we are opposed to drugs. We try to teach a drug-free curriculum throughout the year, but we wanted to take another stance at how we feel about drugs, tobacco, vaping in our community. And I will say, just as a sneak peek to what's to come, we do have our Justice Department grant that we were awarded before the pandemic. And it was placed on hold because one of the asks, or the way we were awarded the grant, was for specific services from our SRO, or from an SRO, to work with our school community. And so as we move forward this evening, we have a job description. That'll be item number 7 on the agenda this evening. But it really ties into this resolution, right? We're taking a stance against drugs, against vaping, against alcohol, against tobacco. And we're going to ensure that we're not just doing it in the form of a, red ribbon campaign, which is only one time a year, but it's something that we can continue to bring forth and really work with students and provide the services so that students don't know the dangers of the drugs and tobacco.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. For item number 1, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion and just want to say thank you to those who put it together. It's really neat to see from the options that we had and how it really represents our district. So I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Any discussion?
Yes. I recently attended the First District PTA Leadership Academy over at Edgewood High School in West Covina, and they had some great big signs that said no smoking on campus, tobacco free, and vaping also, no vaping. And they're big triangular signs, so we might consider doing that. Thank you.
Very great suggestion. Thank you, Mr. Segrist. And yes, I also want to thank all of you for putting this together. It's very detailed, all of the information that it has, and our pledge and where we stand with being a community that is opposed of tobacco and these vaping products that have been really the cause for even death among our youth. So thank you. Okay, with this said, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 2, consideration of approval to adopt Resolution 21-2236, requesting Board of Supervisor of the County of Los Angeles to establish tax rate for bonds of El Monte City School District expected to be sold during fiscal year 2022-23 and authorizing necessary actions in connection therewith. Mr. Herrera.
Thank you, President Redas and members of the governing board. What this resolution will permit the district to do is notify the Board of Supervisors that we will be moving forward with issuing bonds in the amount of roughly $10 million in the upcoming fiscal year in the spring of 2023. And we are requesting that they hold our tax rate steady for the taxpayers in El Monte, so as not to prevent a dip and then a large increase, right? So we took out a $10 million bond anticipation note, which is a loan, back in 2018. We used the proceeds primarily to help construct the facility that we're currently in. Now, bond anticipation notes have to be paid back within 5 years. And the bond anticipation note is borrowed against the bonds that you have out there, right? So it's an advanced type of funding that you can pursue. That debt is coming due in the spring of 2023. And as anticipated, when we took out the loan back in 2018, we were going to pay off that loan using bond funds. And so we took out an issuance of about $10 million a couple months ago. And we're happy to report that we have that money ready to use for certain projects. We're updating our facility master plan over the next few months so we can put that money to work. And we have another $10 million loan that's coming due in the spring of 2023. So at a minimum, we're going to take out about $10 million of bond funds to pay off that loan. And depending on how our facility master plan progress looks, we may take out a larger amount if there are projects that we're ready to pursue. So what this does, it authorizes the board and the school district to formally notify the county board of supervisors to maintain our tax rates. We haven't pulled out that bond issuance yet, but we're saying we will do it throughout the fiscal year. It's going to come at the later end of the fiscal year. So we're requesting that they keep those tax rates steady in anticipation of a bond that we'll be issuing in the spring of 2023 in the amount roughly of $10 million, perhaps more, if we feel that there is the opportunity to access more funds in addition to paying off the debt to initiate future projects.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Is there a motion for item number 2?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Any discussion?
Yes, I'm really surprised that the County Board of Supervisors has anything at all to do with the bond issues for the schools. I didn't even know that was possible. Learning experience every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item number 3, consideration of approval to adopt Resolution 21-2237, approval to join Relieve JPA.
Thank
Mr.
you, Board
Herrera.
President. What this resolution does, it allows El Monte City School District to move forward effective July 1st to continue to secure property and liability insurance coverage through the Relief Joint Powers Authority. This is a 3-year agreement that we're entering into, so we can continue to have property and liability insurance coverage for all the property and any liability coverage that is necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Is there a motion for item number 3?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, motion passes. Item number 4, Local Control Accountability Plan 2021 to 2024, Year 2. Mrs. Castro.
President Rodas, members of the Governing Board, pursuant to Education Code 52060, all local educational agencies must adopt and annually update a local control and accountability plan and annual update. So the LCAP was presented to you at the last board meeting. We shared all the educational partners that took part in creating goals and actions for our students. It delineates the priorities and outcomes that we want to see in our students and student groups. And it discusses how the students that generate the funds, specifically low-income students, English learners, and foster youth will benefit from the goals and actions in the plan. So tonight we're asking for the board to approve our 2022-23 LCAP plan.
Thank you, Mrs. Castro. Is there a motion for item number 4?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Any discussion?
I'd just like to compliment the people who put this together. I can't imagine how many hours went into that, but the quality is really impressive. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Segrist. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item number 5, consideration of approval of the 2022-23 adopted budget. Mr. Herrera.
President Rueda, members of the Governing Board, before you is the adopted budget. This is a very important document that requires approval. Without it, we cannot pay employees, we cannot pay vendors. So we gave a pretty in-depth presentation at the last board meeting along with the LCAP, and it requires 2 separate meetings, one for the public hearing, one for the formal approval. So after approval by the Board of Education, we'll send all the documents over to the LA County Office of Education, and a letter will be issued prior to September 15th to the board president, confirming whether or not they approve or disapprove our budget. We work closely with the LA County Office of Education in developing the budget. And so we have a good relationship with them, and we've shown them a preview of our budget, and that we do not expect the budget to be disapproved. We fully expect that the budget will be approved. After the board approves it, we'll send it over to LACO, and a letter will be sent to the board president within a few weeks.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Do we have a motion for item number 5?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item number 6, consideration of approval of cabinet contract amendments due to annual salary step increase for the 2021-2022.
President Ruedas, I'm going to start by apologizing. It should actually be the 22-23 school year. So when we approve it,
Do you need
we'll
me to
just
read
make
it again?
No, I just want to just bring that to the attention that that there was a mistake and error on my side when I created this item. It should be 22-23 school year. But before for your consideration is the annual step and column movement for cabinet members. This is the same step that all employees within the school district take on all of our salary schedules. The only difference is with AB 1344, which was brought about in 2012. Cabinet members cannot have a contract which annually is renewed without approval and a step movement without approval. So it's one or the other. Our contracts currently have an annual renewal unless we're notified we're not being kept another year. And therefore, the movement on the salary schedule must be board approved. So that's what you have tonight is the amendments for my contract, Ms. Castro's contract, and Mr. Herrera's contract to move us to the next step on the salary schedule.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sollenbach. Do we have a motion for item number 6?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to item number 7, consideration of approval of management job description.
President Ruedas and Governing Board, tonight before you is the consideration of approval of a new job description. Dr. Garcia alluded to it in the first action item in regards to the tobacco resolution. This is a job description funded primarily out of that tobacco grant which we received a few years ago. It would allow us to employ qualified individuals, primarily current law enforcement officers who have previous SRO experience and training within these areas. It also allows us to provide these types of trainings and workshops, not only to our students and our staff, but to our parents and our community as well. The job description title, which we were a little creative in it, we called it a Health Programs Education Specialist, specifically because looking down in the future, when this grant runs out, potentially there could be other grant funding sources or other maybe funding sources within our organization, which we could still tie to it with the appropriate title and job description. This job description was given to the Department of Justice, who was initially funding this grant, and it was approved by them. Meets their criteria.
Wonderful.
That's good.
This is great. Thank you, Mr. Sollenbach. Do we have a motion to approve item number 7?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Our last item is item number 8, consideration of approval of administrative appointments. Principal, Dr. Garcia.
Thus, and governing board members, this evening we are very excited to introduce you to Dr. Renee Kwan, who happens to be in the audience here with us. I'd like to make a recommendation to approve him this evening for a principal position in our district. And I'll tell you a little bit about Dr. Kwan. He brings with us over 15 years of experience in education, having a bachelor's degree in computer science and engineer, 2 master's degrees, curriculum and instruction and urban school leadership, and a doctorate in education. And I will say that he is a proud Bruin, and that also always gives people extra points in this district. Okay, I appreciate the humor. Thank you. He did begin his career as a math and technology teacher in Oakland, has been a principal at a high school and a middle school in Los Angeles. He comes with a wealth of knowledge on professional learning communities, restorative justice, and equitable practices that we think will lead our students to the highest achievements. And so it is my pleasure this evening to recommend Dr. Renee Kwan for a principal position in our district.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Wow, these are wonderful news. Do we have a motion to approve item number 8?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Any discussion?
Just great to hear all of your qualifications. So,
Thank you, Mrs. Cobian. Okay, with this said, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Well, With that said, motion passes. Congratulations and welcome to the El Monte City School.
I did tell Dr. Kwan that we really love to get to know our employees. Once, they're with us, they're part of our family, and I told them we were going to put them on the spot. So if you'd like to please come forward, Dr. Renee Kwan, and we'd like to just hear from you, share a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Board President, board members, Dr. Garcia, thank you so much. Dr. Garcia did thank you for listing my qualifications. In my mind, I was gonna say that, but that's okay. I think the first thing I wanna say is in all of the times that I've connected, which isn't a lot at this point with, sitting in the board meeting and connecting with staff as part of the onboarding process, the panel, I just have constantly been reinforced, not only through words, but just in feeling out the culture that is such a special community of schools and such a tight-knit community, and in hearing from the student from Wright and the DLAC committee, it just really evokes that it's a strong team and a strong district with a lot of history and a lot of connections. So, kudos. I just really feel really, really great about the district and where I'm at right now. So that's the first thing I want to say. Yes, I was going to run down my list of achievements, I guess, if you will, but instead, I actually realized I think I may have made an error in my resume. I think I've been saying 15 years, but I actually have 16 years because I was an assistant principal for 1 year. So I forget if I put 15 on there, and I was thinking, you know what, it's 16 years. So anyway, slight correction. Okay, so you've heard the resume, so I'll just share a little bit about myself personally. And let's see here. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Lived here most of my life except for when I went to Oakland to teach. My father is Chinese. My mother is Filipina. Unfortunately, I don't speak either of those languages except for maybe a couple words, but I can communicate in basic Spanish. So, growing up in LA, that's the language I learned the best. What else? I currently live in El Sereno with my partner and our 3 dogs. And yeah, I guess off the top of my head, this is a little personal information. I really am excited to join El Monte City's district and just learn about the community and learn about the kids and just learn about how I can take my experience and just create the most impact for the students, for the young ones. And just want to Dr. Garcia asked me why I do what I do. It's not work for me. I wake up every day and I'm ready to go because I really just care in the success of students from LA because, that's where I'm from. So that's just something I deeply care about, seeking equity in education. And yeah, that's what drives me. So that's what makes it not work for me. So I am excited to promote success for the students academically, socio-emotionally, all of the above for our students every single day, and that's my commitment. So, thank you.
Thank you, and welcome once again to the El Monte City School District family. Wonderful, and now
if I can just
please,
continue,
Dr.
I do have a few announcements. I was going to tease Dr. Kwan that we were going to quiz him on board items, but I realized that we'll wait for the teasing after our first principals meeting. So with Dr. Kwan's appointment, I'd like to announce that he will be serving at Cherry Lee School. And with us this evening is Mrs. Doris Tran, who is currently the principal at Cherry Lee, and we've asked her to serve at Columbia School as the school principal. Her partner as assistant principal will be Mr. Juan Flores, who's also in the audience with us. And Mrs. Rosemary Garcia-Dueñas will be serving at Frank Wright School as the assistant principal, and Mr. Jaime Ortega will be serving as an administrator on special assignment. So those are the administrative changes for the upcoming year. We will be sharing the wonderful news with our school community and really looking forward to the dynamic teams that are going to move this work forward. I will say that Mrs. Tran and Mr. Flores have their work cut out for them. Columbia will be celebrating their 100-year anniversary, And so, the question to them is, how good of a party planner are you? And they both said that they are exceptional. So we're looking forward to a good party. No pressure. Okay.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Dr. Garcia. And I mean, again, congratulations to you all. I think that we can all agree that we've seen the tremendous leadership that happens in our district. I mean, we've seen California Distinguished Schools from Frank Wright and Shirley. So, I mean, it's wonderful to see this, and now serving at a new school. So congratulations also to both of you, and taking on this new, not new leadership role, because you've taken many. So congratulations on now the new school. Thank you. So now we'll move on to our discussion session, beginning with cabinet reports, beginning with Mr. Herrera.
Thank you, Ms. Redas. I just wanted to highlight that we started summer school last week, and prior to starting summer school, we gathered all of our head custodians together for a PLC meeting, right? It's something that we started a couple years ago. Oftentimes our classified staff is not engaged in that type of collaborative work, and so it's something that our facilities director and department started. On behalf of the board and the cabinet and the school community, we wanted to thank them for all the work they did the past year or 2 years during COVID. They were really, they allowed our schools to remain open in the era of COVID with all of their disinfectant practices and just making sure that our schools were very clean, right? And it's something that we perhaps took for granted, but during a pandemic, right, they became our superheroes, right? Making sure that everything was taken care of. So it's something that we're going to continue going forward. We regularly bring them together so we can make sure that we ensure all staff has professional development and growth opportunities, right? This upcoming summer school that we just started was a little different than the start of the school year as it pertains to transportation, right? The labor shortage seemed to have dissipated, and we're able to set up all of our routes smoothly with no issues. Happy to report that we're offering transportation to Potrero and Rio Hondo School in the spirit of equitable practices and access to the students that are in need of transportation, right? We offer it to those students that live far from the schools, right? So that's something new that we introduced this year. And then also, we all saw the wonderful work that our team did in maintenance facilities, getting our schools ready for the promotions. So we just wanted to publicly recognize them and everyone else that played a role in preparing all of our schools, especially our K-8 schools, for the promotions. It's such a wonderful event. They took a break last year, right, with the pandemic, actually the past 2 years, but they came back strong in the summer of, or in 2022, right, and they made sure that all of our schools were in tip-top shape and made sure that the setup went flawlessly. So thank you to all the work that went on behind the scenes, to our maintenance staff and the food services staff that continues to feed the community over the summer. So those are the reports that we have out of business services.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Mrs. Castro.
Thank you, President Rodas. I just wanted to share, some of my colleagues and I were talking today, when people find out that we work for a school district, they say, oh, you're off for the summer. And that's really not true. Actually, we started our admin PD today. We're doing a little something different this year. We're doing our administrators' professional development for a week in June, setting the groundwork. We started looking at data today. We're going to be talking about MTSS and the programs, redefining or refining Tier 1, Tier 2 instruction, and all the supports that go on with it. So I just wanted to acknowledge my colleagues in the audience, Dr. Pinedo and Mr. Lopez Mena, for helping put this work together. And then we're going to bring back our administrators August 1st to continue our second round of PD and roll out the theme for the upcoming school year. I also wanted to share that, like Mr. Herrera said, we started summer school. I'm very excited that we're offering summer school at each of the school. And I did want to correct, it's 360 students that we have enrolled in our summer program right now. 187 enrolled in our expanded learning programs for extended school year for ESY for our students with disabilities. So currently, we are offering one class per grades K through 7. We have a lot of fun activities happening, engineering, basics, math concepts, addition, subtraction, division, fractions. I can go on, but a lot of fun things too. We brought back our STEAM activities. Our engineering is elementary, and our summer school principals are providing fun activities for the students to do every day. And our libraries are open, so our community can check out library books as well as the students enrolled in summer school. We have the 198 students are actually enrolled in our special ed summer school, and we're offering that at 3 schools, Durfee, Thompson, Rio Vista, and Sherpser. So we hope that we're going to continue closing the learning loss, closing the gaps that were created by the pandemic, and start the school year strong. Looking forward to our CASP data and getting to work with that as soon as we can get our hands on it. So a lot of work to be done this summer and in the upcoming school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Castro. Mr. Sollenbach.
Thank you, President Ruedas. This evening, we had on our monthly routine, we had 5 other retirements that we sort of snuck in, or they snuck in on us. We had 2 classified members, Cynthia Madrid and Maria Orozco, totaling 54 years of service between the 2 of them. And then on our certificated side, we had Teb Dell, he goes by Teb, and Charlotte Lars, both at Wilkerson. And then as we were sitting around Friday evening on the last day of school, I get an email from Sandy Smith at Durfee, who announced her retirement as well. And so between the 3 of them, 80 years of service, a combined 134 years of service between the 5 last-minute retirees. We always seem to get those few that sort of want to go out without all of the pomp and circumstance at the end of the year. And so I just wanted to kind of note that as well. Also on tonight's monthly you saw quite a few positions in our certificated side as we look at hiring our counselors for the coming school year, some of our temporary positions that we will fill for the coming school year as well. And we're not done, so over the course of the next month, we'll be looking at filling some of our intervention teacher positions as well. And then we still have a few more of our general ed positions that we'll be filling.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Mr. Sollenbach. And Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, President Ruedas. As these retirements come in, they're very strategic. These are very, I wouldn't say shy, but they're people that just want to leave on their terms. And so I do want to put it out there that we know where they live, and we will make it a point to celebrate them and to thank them. So we'll get the final word. Looking forward to really connecting with all of our retirees. And I just want to take this opportunity to just express my deepest gratitude for your leadership on this board, your steadfast leadership, not only this past year, but these, past few years has been tremendous. And it's really set the tone for the work that we do in this district. Your expectations of, the highest collegiality, professionalism, the utmost care of every single person, whether it's a student, a parent, or employee in this district, does not go unnoticed. It really just sets the tone for the rest of us. And I want to express also my deepest gratitude for my cabinet. Jose, Virginia, Steve have been a force to be reckoned with. I mean, there were times where, I think I would think about, all right, how are we going to get this work done? And the minute the 4 of us were together, I wouldn't say in the room, but in the same virtual setting, or in the same virtual room, the answers came very quickly. And so I just want to express my gratitude for all of your hard work. I know that there's still a lot of work ahead of us, but again, just very grateful. And then there's a few administrators that are here with us in the room. What a year. A tremendous, tremendous year. I don't think we'll ever be able to describe it, in its entirety, but we made it. And so it is my deepest hope that, we finish up the PD that we have a couple of things lined up, but that people really take the time to disconnect, to unplug, to reset, to renew in the month of July. We do this majestic work on behalf of kids and community, and we just need everybody to be rested so that we can hit the ground running. I hope that next year is somewhat back to normal. And so I'll just give you a preview. When we meet for the board retreat on July 30th, we'll really call what the year looks like and what the requirements will look like. But for now, I really hope that people are able to just disconnect and enjoy the summer.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. And with that said, we'll move on to future discussion items. If the board has any discussion items that they would like to bring. Okay, with that said.
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Segrist.
I know it's going to be an added task, but I think we should start looking for promoting the availability of housing in El Monte. We're having a lot of construction of like the Mac Ortiz Plaza. I met a family that live in Paris, not France, but Paris, California. They have 4 children. They want to move to El Monte. El Monte City had a program called the First Time Home Buyer. So I would like us to consider networking with the city of El Monte to find out about housing opportunities. Because so many people have moved out to Riverside County and beyond, the price of gasoline means they're not going to be able to come back this way very productively. So I think it would be really behoove us to help answer the declining enrollment if we got into that employment availability in the area plus the housing, because I think we should really could do a great deal of service to those families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Okay, moving on to our board retreat. As you have your board draft agenda for the board retreat, if there is anything you would like to add?
I would.
So President Rivas and governing board members, we are scheduled to meet on July 30th for our annual board retreat. We'll start off the retreat by reviewing some governance and meetings for the upcoming year. This will be an opportunity for us to really look at the 22-23 calendar. We can identify some presentations that we'd like to see come forward. We will also be presenting a schedule of recognitions that we hope to bring to the board. I think it's going to be a great time to bring people back, just like we did this evening with our wonderful student speaker and our DLAC parents. And then we'll also be reviewing the resolutions that come before this board every month. So that's a conversation that we can have then. There's opportunity to bring up other governance matters as well. So please, if you have any suggestions, let us know. The big focus of our retreat will be to focus on the California Voting Rights Act and how it applies to the El Monte City School District. As you know, many districts and municipalities around us have converted into trustee areas, and so it's an opportunity for us to explore if it's a viable option for us. We'll begin with the legal presentation from DWK talking about the California Voting Rights Act, and then we'll look at the trustee area process that others have engaged in, and then again, really look at our demographic and voting data to consider next steps for us as a district. And then lastly, we'll conclude with our facilities master plan. So we're in the process right now of selecting a firm that can assist us, and the board will begin by, sharing the vision for the facilities, the remaining bond funds that we have. So this will be a good time to really have a conversation about where we are as a district, what type of improvements we'd like to see with our bond dollars, and the future of our bond program. And then lastly, I plan to close out the meeting with an update on where we are in terms of reopening for the school year and any announcements that we might have at that time.
That sounds great. I have a question, Dr. Garcia. When we talk about the California Voting Rights Act, the legal presentation, they will be here in person?
Yes.
To answer our any questions? Okay.
Yes. So they'll give us a context. They'll give us, the board will have an opportunity to hear a presentation, ask questions, and engage in the topic.
Perfect.
Also, I had a quick question on the demographics. Will this also kind of include what we've seen before, where we look at like the student population trajectories and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think it'll be an opportunity for us to look at our local demographics, our community demographics, look at birth rates, look at student population, look at voting data. So it'll be a lot of data that will be shared with the board. I don't anticipate us taking any action at this board meeting. What I anticipate is really creating context for the possibility of future action items.
May I make a comment about the California Voting Rights Act? I began with the idea that it's a great idea, and then I began thinking about it. The city of El Monte just broke into 6 council districts. Right now, I have 4 people, council people, and a mayor to represent me. When they break up, which they're doing, I now get 1 council person, that's it. I'll have less representation than I had before, and I think it applies even to school districts. I would rather have 5 people represent me, then 1 person. Because here's what happens. Right now, if you try to go into the California Assembly or the Senate and you email any of those people, if they're not your representative, they'll send you right back to your 1 person. That's my opinion about that. We have to do it, so obviously it's going to happen, but I really have a lot of questions about how representational it is, because it's not. Thank you.
Well, I think as a board, you'll have the ability to really make that decision. What I plan to bring to the board is a lot of data and hopefully, some options to really consider as we decide on the California Voting Rights Act for our district.
One comment back was from someone that I know very well and respect said, "Oh, we've never had a representation from our area." I said back, "Well, then why didn't you run for that area then? You would have had somebody." So thank you. It's a discussion that's going to be going on for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. And no, thank you, Dr. Garcia. And we're looking forward to all of the data and having this particular discussion next month on the 30th. If anything else, any other ideas, suggestions for this, and you can please email Dr. Garcia so that we can also.
I'd like to add something about the retreat. I would like to see us entertain posting children's work in our boardroom here. I'd love to see some examples of what they do. I know it's across the street, but I think it would really be wonderful for people here to see the great talent that our kids have. So we ought to really think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to acknowledge Edna in particular for just all that she has done to support the district. And one of the things that she was able to do this year because of the supply-demand issues, that we are behind on some furniture orders. We're still, we have some grandiose plans for this room and really how to make it a focal point where it represents kids. But, instead of waiting for things to arrive, Edna was very quick to reach out to schools and bring in artwork, and she tries to change it up so that you have the opportunity to see the wonderful things that are happening at all of our school sites. So it is our goal to be able to walk into this room and to be reminded that the reason we're all here is because of the kids of this community, and I promise that we'll get there. And thank you, Edna, for not only everything that you do day in, day out, but really trying to create that space for us in here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Edna. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do it without you, so thank you so much.
Amen.
And I know this conversation was brought up even prior to the pandemic, and because of the pandemic, everything was placed on hold. So obviously our priority was definitely on the health and safety of our children. So we can definitely come back to that. Okay, well, with that said, we will now move on to adjourn our meeting, but today we'll adjourn in memory of Corporal Michael Paredes and Officer Joseph Santana, today at 8:00 p.m.
Do I get to sign? Oh, good. I have the right pen this time. Where am I? Okay, there we are.